CJ. Yeah, what we talking about? 94 feet, crossover bodies dropping J's up. Players this elite, your shots on body blocking halftime. We break it down, we gon' call your bluff, it's past time. You recognize, press. We got the heat down in Florida with the keys. Yes, we the best. Magic, we flash with them fans listen, won't see the best. Show rise from the airwaves like all stars in them stairways. Local rockin', we not stopping, got hot topics like every day. Them trades hit that deadline. My team chasing the big range, we ball, check that headline. Don't mess it up when you pick teams, the only station giving y'all that info with that real talk. Don't be trying to contest it, go toe to toe and get wheeled off. We shooting from deeper than that report from the bleachers. If you ain't on your game, then we got something to teach you. Tie your laces up, might get shook up out of them sneakers. That triple threat, bless your eardrum straight out of your speakers. Go from that black top to the hardwood, locker room to that press day. Got the scoop on them contracts, new prospects and best plays. NBA defined by the grind, in between the lines, full court pressing, finessing, reading signs. What we talking about?
What's up, everybody? This is Dan Thompson from RallyAssociation.com, and this is the Rally Association podcast, the Western Conference Playoff Edition and Preview Edition. And this is the best podcast you're going to find, especially because of the fact of the time. Follow me on Twitter at Danny3 Thompson on Twitter, a Rally Association Facebook page for Rally Association Radio, and also like and subscribe to the podcast that you're going to find everywhere, including Spreaker, iTunes, and every other podcasting format. And also follow RallyAssociation.com for the latest on NBA stories, news, and everything else in between. So, the NBA playoffs kick off on Saturday, and the question in the Western Conference is, will the Golden State Warriors get back to the NBA Finals? There are 7 teams trying to knock down what we all call in the NBA as the NBA version of Thanos. And let's talk about who can do it, if anybody can do it. The Golden State Warriors will open up their playoff series, open up the playoffs on Saturday nights against the LA Clippers in the 1-8 matchup. The Warriors won the Western Conference regular season. They also have basically the best starting 5 potentially in the history of the NBA. There's never been a time in the NBA's history where they had 5 All-Stars from the previous season on the same team at one time. Led by Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, the Splash Brothers backcourt, they can pretty much do whatever they want to scoring the basketball. On top of that, they have the NBA's most dynamic offensive weapon in Kevin Durant, also one of the NBA's most important defensive players in Draymond Green, and the biggest bully on the block, DeMarcus Cousins. Steve Kerr also is one of the best coaches in the NBA because he knows how to basically stagger his star minutes to make up for the fact of his bench is getting a little bit older and does not have the firepower that it used to. Going against the LA Clippers team that Doc Rivers might have had his best coaching job of his NBA career other than the championship in Boston, leading a Clippers team to a playoffs after trading Tobias Harris at midseason. Led by the NBA's best bench with Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell, coming off the bench. They have had contributions for almost everybody. Danilo Gallinari, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have turned themselves, Pat Beverly, Landry Shamet, among others. They've turned this team into really a interesting group of guys. The problem is with being an interesting group of guys, you're going against a team that knows how to win in a playoff series. No offense to the Clippers, Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell have been phenomenal all season long, but the real problem is they don't have enough outside firepower to beat the Golden State Warriors. I don't want to take much time to really go in depth in the series. Just know that Steph Curry is healthy with the ankle. There's nothing to worry about. Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant basically have been on load management for a couple weeks, and DeMarcus Cousins is completely focused on winning a championship. Draymond Green is the X factor because what he does defensively, getting people out of the games, and most importantly, Steve Kerr staggers these stars' minutes. The Warriors bench doesn't score like it used to, or does not. It's not the same as it's been over the past few years. They know how to stagger minutes. They brought Andrew Bogut in. They have more physicality to prepare themselves for just in case DeMarcus Cousins or Draymond Green get themselves in some kind of trouble with suspensions. They have enough big bodies. But the most important thing is you'll see Klay Thompson, you'll see Draymond, you'll see Kevin Durant or Curry with that second unit, which makes them even more dangerous. This is a sweep. The Clippers just can't match the firepower. Yes, they can score off the bench. Lou Williams is the only guy I can say consistently can scare the Warriors scoring-wise. But there are 3 other guys that can scare you scoring-wise for the Warriors on the perimeter. Warriors in a sweep. The 2-7 matchup, you have the Denver Nuggets taking on the San Antonio Spurs. The Nuggets have been fighting for that top seed all year and has also been fighting for respect all year. Nikola Jokic is the best center, the best player nobody's ever heard of across the league. You have Jamal Murray, who is also a very underrated guard in the backcourt. Gary Harris, who's been up and down all year at the guard position, but has extreme amounts of talent. Paul Millsap, one of the most underrated players, one of the most under the radar players in the league. And you have guys like Will Barton, who could, and Malik Beasley, those guys who could score off the bench, and it's solid backup point guard in Monte Morris. Going against the San Antonio Spurs, led by Greg Popovich, you have DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge as your dynamic duo. Rudy Gay has always been solid. Brendan Forbes is an underrated starter at the point starter. Derek White has been very solid at the point guard position for the Spurs this year. Marco Bellinelli comes off the bench, and don't forget Patty Mills, who's always Patty Mills. The reason why this is an interesting matchup because Greg Popovich is going into the playoffs without having a major lockdown defender. He's used to having Kawhi Leonard on the wing for the last few years. In a series like this, it's really, can Popovich figure out how to guard Jakob Poeltl, can use Jakob Poeltl and other guys to keep Nikola Jokic away from just pinpointing and picking apart the defense. For Denver's case, it's really all about, can the Denver Nuggets knock down enough shots and play at a faster paced tempo against a Spurs team that doesn't really shoot as many 3-pointers or doesn't like to get up and down as frequent as the Nuggets do. Well, how's the series going to play out? I love Popovich's coaching, but really in this series, they're kind of overmatched almost everywhere on the floor with the exception of DeRozan. I like the Nuggets in 6 games. The Spurs are going to push them, but I think the Nuggets have just too much talent to not to lose the series. 3-6 matchup, Portland taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's kind of the old saying goes of the theory of the Blazers it's kind of like the kiss of death. The Blazers made the 3 seed, but the problem is they got the wrong 6 seed waiting on them. The Blazers have not figured out how to beat the Thunder all season long. The Thunder swept the Blazers in 4 games this year. The Blazers don't have Yusuf Nurkic, but the Blazers do have Damian Lillard, and they do have CJ McCollum. Lillard is a player that can win games individually, and we've all seen this before. Playoff Damian Lillard is just fun Damian Lillard. Going against playoff Russell Westbrook, which is fun Russell Westbrook. The Blazers have a whole bunch of guys that are just trying to prove themselves. Yusuf Nurkic is out. CJ McCollum can get buckets. We all know about Damian Lillard. The real question is, can Evan Turner, Al-Farouq Amino, Mo Harkless, Zach Collins, Miles Leonard, Seth Curry, whoever is coming off can be a third scorer, because we all know Enes Kanter can score, but Enes Kanter can't rebound. Somebody's going to have to step up to try to stop the Oklahoma City Thunder, because on the Thunder side of things, they have two of the top 8 players in the league this year, and Paul George and Russell Westbrook. I said this season. George has been a monster all year, been a dark horse MVP candidate. If it wasn't been for James Harden and Giannis, then you would talk about Paul George as an MVP candidate. Regular season P has to transition to playoff P. If this turns into playoff Paul George, he did in the regular season, then really this is not much of a matchup. George is going to be a terror defensively, and also, can the Blazers keep Steven Adams off the offensive glass? Adams doesn't average 10 rebounds a game, but he averages almost half of them on the offensive glass. If he keeps them off the offensive glass, if Adams is killing the Blazers on the offensive glass, it's going to create more opportunities. But the one thing the Thunder have to do is they have to be able to hit shots from deep. It's got to be more than just Paul George. Dennis Schroeder has to hit shots. Even Russell Westbrook, if he takes them, Jeremy Grant, Patrick Patterson, they're going to have to find shooters that can hit the shots on a consistent basis. Hey, Markieff Morris, it'd be a great time to show up right now. Billy Donovan has to figure this out. Guys have to hit shots. If they start hitting shots, they'll beat the Blazers. I'm taking the Thunder in 6 games, but it would not shock me if the series flipped, especially if the Thunder are not hitting shots and the Thunder gets it home. 4-5 matchup, which you have the Houston Rockets and the Utah Jazz. Now, in this series, I think this might be the best series in the first round. Why? Because you have the defensive IQ of head coach Quinn Snyder trying to stop the league's most ultimate offensive weapon in James Harden. And when I say the best defensive-minded coach in the league, the Jazz have the best defensive player and play the best team defense of anybody in the NBA. Rudy Gobert is at the paint. Donovan Mitchell and Ricky Rubio have been phenomenal on the wings this year guarding. You also have guys like Joe Ingles that defend very well. Jay Crowder coming off the bench. You have Derek Favors at the power forward position, among other guys. Thabo Sefolosha. They have guys who can defend. Now, what happens is when you get an up and down game with the Houston Rockets, which they want you to do, the Rockets will get in transition and find guys everywhere. So what if they stop James Harden? But if the Rockets are hitting 3-pointers, and they have plenty of guys that can do it, Eric Gordon, Chris Paul, Gerald Green, PJ Tucker on the wing, they have guys who can hit 3-pointers on a regular basis. And don't forget, James Harden is James Harden. Clint Capella can be kind of neutralized in the series because of Gobert, but if Quinn Snyder can find a way to either make James Harden score 60 points every night and stop them and stop everybody else, or to basically make a concerted effort to stop James Harden and make everybody else beat them, is the real question. D'Antoni will get out and run. James Harden will have some humongous games, but the real X factor in the series for the Houston Rockets will be Chris Paul. If Chris Paul is creating and getting himself into the hair of Clint Snyder defensively on the defensive side of the ball, we know he plays defense, but if he can just basically cause havoc offensively, the Jazz are in trouble. The X factor for the Jazz is somebody scoring the ball other than Donovan Mitchell. Hi, Joe Ingles. Hi, Derek Favors. Somebody has to be able to get buckets for the Jazz. The Jazz, they are good defensively, can at times struggle offensively. Ricky Rubio can get you the ball in the right places, but guys have to hit shots. You're going to have to get shots from Cephalosha, Royce O'Neal. Whoever the Jazz put in the game has to be able to hit shots. Kyle Korver. If those guys are hitting shots, the Jazz have a chance to win this series. Snyder's going to have a defensive scheme waiting. He's had a couple days to figure this out. And you have until Sunday to figure this out for game 1. I like the Rockets, but the Rockets will get pushed this series. Rockets win in 7. The Jazz will push. Quinn Snyder is the reason why he's still a top 5 head coach to me. He will figure out how to get this Rockets series to 7. And in a 7th game, anything goes. I like the Rockets in 7 because they're at home in game 7. Rest of the Western Conference preview for me, it will break down like this. We have the Warriors and Rockets, which should be the Western Conference Finals, but we get that in the semifinals. The 2 best teams in the Western Conference will figure this out, and it will be a knockdown, drag-out series. We saw this last year that got pushed, and the only reason why the Warriors won to this day, I will say, is because Chris Paul's hamstring decided to take an early vacation, and he got injured, and he could not go in the final 2 games of the series, because after game 5, Chris Paul had figured out how to beat the Warriors, and they were just literally 1 game away. They fell apart in game 6, and they couldn't hold together in game 7 against the Warriors. This year, the Rockets are healthy. Everybody's together. Kenny Fareed has been an aberration off the bench. We also mentioned earlier about all the shooting. The Warriors decided to go out and just add DeMarcus Cousins. That changes everything. Cousins will be able to keep Clint Capella from being Clint Capella at a lot of times. And they also have Andrew Bogut. They have a lot more bodies. Draymond Green, they have bodies to keep Capella out the paint. The question is, if Clint Capella gets in foul trouble because DeMarcus Cousins could cause it, that would be a problem in the series. The Warriors, the Rockets' saving grace will be DeMarcus Cousins somehow having a meltdown this series, and maybe Draymond Green joining him as well too, and somehow one or both can get suspended or get some technical fouls and get thrown out of the series. If anybody can match firepower with the Warriors this series, it's the Rockets. This series is just 1 round too early. It should be the Western Conference Finals. The Rockets will push the Warriors as far as they can and push them more than anybody else in the NBA. It'll be a 7-game series. Warriors get to the Western Conference Finals. In the next series, Thunder taking on the Denver Nuggets. It's the matchup of the chicken and the egg. The team versus the individual duo. I would call the NBA's version of shake and bake, which is, I think, of Russell Westbrook and Paul George. Can they get past a Denver team that does not, that's getting to the second round for the very first time with this group of guys in this unit? Unfortunately, Isaiah Thomas is not in the rotation because he can make a huge difference in the series. The Thunder are running a shorter rotation, which helps because that's how most playoff teams run. The Nuggets are not a team with a lot of playoff experience. Mike Malone's not really experienced the playoffs. Billy Donovan doesn't have that much either, but I like the Thunder this series. Why? Paul George will actually show up in the series once again. You're going to get some contributions for Jeremy Grant. Steven Adams could be able to guard the paint. Jeremy Grant can step out on the floor and basically guard Jokic. You can't hold him on the perimeter, but you can keep those passes from coming back doors. Adams is definitely physical enough to keep Jokic away from doing what he needs to do. I just don't trust the Nuggets scoring enough. Nuggets scoring wise, the Thunder are locked in defensively. They actually can defend when they're locked in. Can Gary Harris and Jamal Murray, Will Barton, Malik Beasley, can those guys hit shots when needed? Especially if the Thunder get downhill with Westbrook. I like the Thunder in a 7-game series over the Nuggets. I know the Nuggets will have home court. I just think there's too much Paul George in this series. And I think Dennis Schroeder will also step his game up to a higher level. So we're getting Warriors and Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. It's the kind of matchup you want to see Russell Westbrook try to defeat Kevin Durant. This is a series where Kevin Durant finally wakes up. He'll get through the first 2 rounds and beat Kevin Durant, but this is a series where he elevates himself to the next level. And at the next level, Kevin Durant is better than the Thunder. Warriors in 5 over the Thunder. Kevin Durant's just too much. Even though Paul George will be guarding him most of the series, he's just a little bit too much. If they had Andre Roberson, the Thunder had Roberson, it'd be a different story. A healthy Andre Roberson, because it helps out defensively, especially with Klay Thompson, because Paul George cannot run with Klay Thompson the entire series, or he can't run Paul George or Kevin Durant and still be Paul George offensively. Westbrook will still be guarding by Steph Curry, and like I said, it's just going to be a up and down series. But the Thunder just doesn't have enough guys to stop Thanos. So, recapping, Warriors win the Western Conference in 5 games over the Thunder. They'll be heading to the NBA Finals to take on who I had on the other podcast, which is the Boston Celtics. And finally, the Western Conference champion will own the NBA championship. I don't need to make another podcast about this, but the Warriors will beat the Celtics in 6 games to win another NBA championship, as Steph Curry finally gets his Finals MVP that he's been so desperately trying to get for the entire career. So, recap, opening round series, I have the Warriors in a sweep. I have the Rockets in 7. I have the Thunder in 6. And I also have the Denver Nuggets in 6. So, let me know how you feel. Tell me how your thoughts about it. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. Follow me on Twitter at Danny3Thompson. That's DANNY, 3 Thompson on Twitter. Also, follow Rally Association on Facebook at Rally Association, the podcast. Also, Rally Association Radio. Also, follow the website. Subscribe to it. Make sure you get your articles from RallyAssociation.com. And finally, subscribe to this podcast on iTunes and Spreaker and Spotify. Please, the podcast is free. Give yourself the gift of free. Let me know your thoughts. Catch you guys later. Enjoy the playoffs. This is Dave Thompson, Rally Association. Peace.
You recognize, we got the heat down in Florida with the keys. Guess we the best. Magic, we flash with them fans. Listen, won't see the best. Show rise from the airwaves like all stars in them stairways. Local rockin', we not stopping. Got hot topics like every day. Them trades hit that deadline. My team chasing the big rings. We ball, check that headline. Don't mess it.